Dana. How's it going?
It is going okay. It is Monday over here in Toronto. It's Tuesday for you, right?
It is indeed early Tuesday morning.
This is such a week for me. I am in cybersecurity training every day this week, 9 to 5, and it's a little snooze fest. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm
Mm.
pretty bored during the day at work this week. And it's kind of exhausting. I don't know what it is about these like conferences or trainings or things like that where I don't know, there's something about them that's just very overwhelming, but also very exhausting. So when you're done with it, you just want to be out like a light. But that being said, being out like a light is not what I want to be doing right now. I want to be talking Real Housewives of Rhode Island with you.
100%, 100%. And there's been so much going on in the Bravo universe. Obviously, all the Summer House stuff. We had the upfronts, I think last night we call it. Was it? Was last night for
To,
me, but maybe
I
that's
think it
during the
was
day for
Monday
you.
today.
Yes. So there's so much going on. You can't even just come home and pass out. There's so much to
No.
keep up with.
You
Did you see?
literally can't even turn off your phone or TV for a day in the Bravo sphere because you're gonna miss
Yeah.
40 things. I really feel like.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask you about Jen Fessler and West. What did you
Oh
think when you
my
saw that come out?
God. Wow. Well, you were the first one to bring my attention to it. And I
No.
was just, yes. And I
What's
was
that?
like, what is going on? And then it kept going and it kept going and kept going. I saw something when I woke up that Jen Fessler was on two teas in a pod, kind of denying it, playing it down, sort of talking about, well, maybe I was a little too enthusiastic in my defense of West.
He
I don't
didn't
know.
mean
Some of
it.
those,
That's what she said.
yeah,
He's a golden retriever. He didn't mean it. What didn't
yeah.
he mean? To put his peen in someone? Which part didn't he
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah. Did he not mean to betray Kyle and Sierra? Did he
I can't.
just accidentally get into a relationship with someone who's been in one for 10 years with someone else? I mean, it's just insane.
Just a whoopsie doodle.
Yeah. Yeah. And like that's such enabling behavior. And when KJ was on Watch What Happens Live, was it last week? And he
Yes.
read West's text out loud, I just thought that is, you know, the epitome of what the problem is with West, which is that he says, I've been off social, so I was a little out of touch with, how much hurt there is. I'm sorry, like, you don't need to be online to know how much hurt you have done to the real people in your lives. Like, this is not about what the fans think and what the public is beating you down for. I mean, that is a massive part of it. However, the damage is within your real relationships with KJ and Sierra and Kyle and all of the crew that are feeling completely betrayed by him. Like it's insane to me that he thinks this has anything to do with social media.
It just shows how little he truly knew these people, who some of whom he's known for, like KJ, he knows from home, right? So he's known him
Yeah.
for a number of years. So to not understand why he's upset is baffling to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you see
So,
at the Bravo Upfronts that there was like this little clip that they released from the reunion, which is funny because it's like, I guess it's okay when Bravo releases the clip, but not
yes.
okay when like someone in production. No, of course.
Yes.
But
Yes.
basically, it was a clip where Kyle has like some of the crew gathered around. So it's like Carl, Mia, and Sierra. And he's like, we have definitive proof that Wes was in an exclusive relationship since February 2025. And we're going to bring that out. So I was like, oh my God, this is so good.
Yeah.
Now, I think this is that girl, Miha, that we heard about,
Hmm.
who allegedly had a relationship with him for like 2 years. And he was lying to her, saying, like, oh, whenever you see me on TV with someone, that's just for the show. So I'm really
Yes.
curious to hear about this, but like, it's just wild how many of the things that we heard out there in the zeitgeist ended up being true because they
Yes.
seem to be being brought up at the reunion and confirmed.
Yeah, so many of them. But again, every time I hear Kyle give a little, either a street interview or, at the Vulture party the
Yeah.
other day, he was doing a lot of interviews on the red carpet there. It just feels like he's giving Amanda a big, leave pass in all of this.
Yeah.
And I just wonder how much, I mean, of course, you and I understand mental health intimately and professionally. And of course, that is there. We don't even need to mention it. That is something that Amanda has spoken about for years. And of course, it goes without saying that we need to be mindful of that. However, I think someone can still be held accountable for their actions without being let off the hook because of their mental health, which it feels like that's the angle Kyle's going for. He keeps saying, I'm just really aware of how fragile she really is. And so this is really all about West for me, you
But I have
know?
never heard him once talk about Sierra's mental health. And so it
Yes.
just kind of bothers me that we're just so singularly focused on one person's mental health when we fully know from the show that Sierra also has mental health issues, that she's also on Prozac. And like it just
Yes.
shouldn't be, I don't know, brushed to the side because I feel like that's one of the major issues here. If Sierra didn't have mental health issues, if Sierra wasn't in love with West, this may be a very different situation. But everybody knows what was really going on here. It's crazy.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
terms of other Bravo upfront stuff, we got some renewals. Maybe let's go through some of the show
Yeah.
renewals, one of which is RHORI. So I'm really excited about that. Real Housewives of Rhode
Yes.
Island, season two. We've got the Valley Persian style season two. You and I both love that show.
Love it.
The Real Housewives edition season two. I didn't watch all of the episodes. I watched a
Mhm.
couple. They're
Yeah.
okay. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't a terrible idea.
Yeah. I thought it was a
It's
cute
okay.
idea. I think it just depends on which housewife they
Right.
use.
Well, I think
That'll,
the concept of it is what makes it funny. It's very like Paris and Nicole, and all of the housewives in theory are supposed to be like, fabulous and living a very different lifestyle than the average family. So that's why it
yes.
should always sort of have the same vibe to it. But
Yeah.
Below Deck Down Under season five, I'm not a Below Deck girly, but I know you are. So you excited for this
Yeah.
one?
I mean, I'm not surprised at all. I don't see any of those franchises stopping anytime soon. So that to me
Right.
wasn't like, didn't really need an announcement. These shows just
I
roll
have an
on every year.
announcement.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding.
Married to Medicine season 13, Southern Charm season 12, Summer House season 11, Salt Lake City season 7, Top Chef, Top Chef, Top Chef season 24, Below Deck, I guess just regular Below Deck season
hmm
13, Potomac season 11, New York season 16, New Jersey season 15. So we are getting that one finally. And Watch
Mm,
What Happens Live season 24. So lots of great
yeah.
stuff returning. That's good. Some people were asking about Ladies of London and OG Vanderpump Rules. Not OG, sorry.
Yeah.
The the reboot of Vanderpump
Yeah.
Rules. But I think that one was already announced like before their season even ended. So I'm not sure if it needed to be like re-announced that they are renewing it, or I don't know if it means that it's just being shelved. I don't really know what that means. And Ladies of
Well,
London is doing so well, maybe because it's only a few episodes in. I haven't been watching, but I think it's not very far in. So maybe they haven't
it's just
made a full
finished.
announcement. Oh, it just finished. Oh,
Yes.
so that's a weird one
Dana,
then.
you are missing out. It is such a
I
good
know I'm missing
show. It
out.
is
Okay.
so, so, so good. It's honestly like what original Housewives was like. It's got
Okay.
all the ingredients. It's just kooky, eccentric, wealthy people and a couple of ring-ins from the US. And it's just brilliant. And
Is it
yeah, I
different
couldn't get
than
enough.
Real Housewives of London?
It is different. I'm not sure why exactly. The cast just really works. They're
It's the cast.
all, yeah, they just really, really work together. There's enough friction and tension that it's not like beating a dead horse over boring things. And they're all, really just, some of them have got these incredible backstories. Some of them are, next to royalty. A lot of them are exceedingly wealthy and it's old money. And they're funny and it's really got everything. I
Okay.
highly recommend. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I will definitely check that out. And then just let me see what else we had at Bravo up front. We had
The
two new
Valley was
shows. We have
missing.
Secrets, Lies, Texas Wives, which kind of reminds
Oh,
me of that show, that scripted show. What was the name of it? With the Texas women who were all
oh
sleeping
yes.
together.
Oh my God, Hunting Wives?
Hunting Wives. This
Yeah.
could be a reality TV spoof on Hunting Wives, if you think about it, right?
Yes.
Because Real Housewives was technically an offshoot of Desperate Housewives. They were trying
True.
to create a reality TV version of that. I bet you $1 million that's what this is. They're trying to create a
Yes.
Hunting Wives reality TV version.
Yes. But now I'm
Interesting.
interested. Have you heard from, I know you're good friends with Lacey from
Hmm.
the Valley, but have you heard anything about, because that didn't seem to have an announcement.
Oh, about the Valley.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I didn't even notice that. I feel like the audience didn't notice that either. I don't feel I've seen anyone talk about the fact that this was missing. Doesn't that speak
Mm.
volumes? We didn't even
Yes.
notice. Oh
Yes.
man, we noticed Vanderpump Rules, the reboot was missing, but we didn't notice the Valley. Wait, let me check
Yeah.
this list again.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh
certain I
my
didn't see it there.
gosh. I I don't know. I mean, it's
I
not doing
know.
great this season, but like again, we're only a
Mm.
few episodes in, so it's
Yeah.
surprising. You would think it would just have like an automatic renewal. I'm
Yeah.
surprised. I mean, I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
We have
And
some
look,
summer premieres that are coming, which are Below Deck
mhm.
Med, June 8th, McBee Dynasty, Season 3, June 15th, Next Gen NYC, Season 2, June 24th, and they released the trailer for that at
Mhm.
the Bravo Upfronts. Real Housewives of OC, Season 20, July 9th, and Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, Roaring 20th on August 9th. So that's exciting. And then one other new show that we're getting is Vanderpump Rules, Lisa Las Vegas. How she serves up the Las Vegas Strip? I don't know. I'm so
Yeah.
sick of her offshoot shows that she tries to create. I'm not really
Yeah.
interested in what's going on in Vegas. Is Marciano going to be on this? Because that's where he is from originally. Like,
Seriously.
I
Well,
don't know. Is
she's
this
got
something
a
you're going to
new
watch?
hotel. I don't know. She's
Right.
she's building a hotel, so I'm assuming it's about, it looked like it was a short series, and it's probably just, behind the scenes and getting the hotel up and running. I think it's
That's
available
of
to
no
book
interest to me.
now. Yeah. And look, I have to say, when I was in LA in February, I met all of the new Vanderpump cast at Sir, and
Yeah.
also then at Watch What Crappens. A lot of them were there. They are just honestly like lovely, entertaining, genuine, authentic people.
But they're
And
not
yes, they're
entertaining on
all,
TV, Anna.
oh, see, I thought
Right?
the
They're
show was
entertaining in real life.
good. I
You
thought
thought
the
it was
show was
good?
good. Yeah. I did. So Natalie, I feel like she's the real
Love
star,
her.
and Venus I really enjoyed. And I think it's really interesting the idea with the cousins and their scandalous money making, vibes. But I think there's enough there. And I think they're in a place in their careers where it's that interesting point where the original cast came in, which is, on the rise to fame, trying to get careers in the industry in some way or another.
I
And
agree
that's
with all of
interesting to
that.
watch. And they're messy and they're drunk all the time and they actually work there. So,
No, in theory, I get it. I just couldn't invest in the characters in the same way that I could with like the Valley Persian style or Rory or
mm,
any of our other new shows. I just couldn't. And I tried,
yeah.
okay? Like I wasn't one of those negative Nancy's about it. I tried.
Yeah.
I didn't even finish the season, and I've never said that about anything. Like
Wow.
I just didn't care about what happened to Angelica. I don't care.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying in theory. Anyways,
Yeah.
another
Gotcha.
exciting thing from Bravo Upfronts was that Sierra is going to be co-hosting Love Island After Sun. I don't know if you are a watcher of Love Island, are you?
Not
Not a
really,
Love Island girly?
no.
It's on a lot.
Yeah.
It's on every day.
It's such a commitment. I honestly like just don't feel like how can I fit all of that in? But I mean, I know I'm missing out. People are obsessed.
Listen, we're all missing out on something, right? I'm missing out on Ladies of
True.
London. You're missing out on Love Island.
True.
But we know
Yeah.
that Maura Higgins used to do it, so she's off doing other things. This is going to be great for Sierra. But my understanding is she is still filming for Summer House and Dancing with the Stars and Love Island. So she is booked and busy, but good for
Huge.
her. And onward
Yeah.
and upward, Sierra.
I know it's massive. Like I just couldn't help thinking though, like is Love Island where everybody goes when they've been betrayed in a scandal on Bravo? Is this just
Let
like the
them.
next let them? Totally. Like it seems to be the natural progression. Like you get cheated on TV, betrayed by your friends, and then off we go to bigger and better things.
It
I just
is
don't know how
bigger and
she's
better
going to do
things.
it. Like how's she going to fit all of this in?
They're going to schedule her in. They're going to make it work. Ariana made it work. And you know what? Like, I'm
Yeah.
just happy that she gets things out of this, right? Like, it doesn't change the feelings and it doesn't change the hurt and the pain, but she deserves it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I'm happy that Amanda and West are having their opportunities taken away and Sierra is having opportunities given to them. It doesn't seem like
Yeah.
people learn in any other way. So
Yeah.
let's do this.
Totally. I'm here for it. Well done
There
to
was
her.
one other show that was announced. I didn't screen grab it. I'm not sure if you caught it. It's with Brittany Cartwright, Heather Gay. I think it's a bunch of different reality stars. Did you see this one come up?
No.
Okay, let me pull this up
Who's
real
giving Brittany
quick.
Cartwright more airtime? Like, I'm sorry. I just don't find her entertaining at all.
I
I've like
used to. I'm
really,
just really
yeah,
surprised
same.
how I just changed in terms of how I feel. So it's called Reality Retreat with stars from Real Housewives, Vanderpump Rules, and more. So it's with Kim Zolciak, Kenya Moore, Margaret Josephs, Christine Quinn, Brittany Cartwright, Tamar Braxton, Caitlin Bristow, Jen Tran, Hilaria Baldwin, Julie Christie, and
Ugh.
Savannah Chrisley, or Julie Chrisley and Savannah Chrisley, mother and daughter. Sorry, Heather Gay is not in this one. I thought something about Heather Gay was being announced. I could be wrong about that. But the other announcement was just the Charleston Fan Fest, which is like
Mm.
BravoCon in Charleston, which I wish I could afford to go to, but for some reason, Charleston is really expensive by plane.
Is
So
it?
kind of bummed about that. But yeah, this reality
Oh.
retreat cast, I mean, I like when they mash a bunch of reality stars together for a show. I don't really care the purpose of the show. They usually are some sort of travel or competition. But I mean, looking at this list, Christine Quinn and Kim Zolciak will be interesting.
Mm.
Like
It sort of feels like
they're
it's
chaotic.
it's it's like outcasts and villains, you know?
That's what they should call it.
Yeah.
I like that. Outcasts and villains.
Yeah, because I mean, literally everyone there has either been fired or been to jail or, done terrible things or has been married to someone terrible.
But I guess
There's
House of Villains and the Traitors are taken, right? Those titles are taken. So
true,
they've tried to come up with a new show. But let's be honest,
true.
those shows thrive, right? Like House of Villains
Yeah.
isn't amazing, but I watch it. The Traitors is amazing, and it is sometimes the place we send our wayward people. So, like,
Yes.
I don't know if I'll watch it. It might be something I watch in the background.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, lots of exciting things, and I
Yeah,
think we can't get enough. So, the more that they're
the more the
bringing on new
merrier.
shows, yeah, exactly. Keep us
All right.
keep us interested and hooked in. Come on, Bravo, keep it going.
Keep us fed, and they always do.
Yes.
Well, let's get into Real Housewives of Rhode Island because we had a really good episode this week. It's so funny.
Mhm.
Like, I don't find myself taking a lot of notes, but I'll watch it
Yeah.
so many times and I'll find that they have like two or three major themes that kind of span enough to talk about, I feel like, in terms of like
Yeah.
having like fruitful discussions. But first of all, I want to know, do you believe in ghosts? And if so, have you ever seen a ghost?
I haven't seen a ghost, but I've definitely had, unexplained experiences. After my mum died, my listeners will know my mum died when I was 21, and there were a few things in the first year after she died that were just, you just couldn't explain any other way. So there was one instance where, like the night before her funeral, all I was in bed and I was just like hysterically crying
Yeah.
and just beside myself. And then I just suddenly felt really calm and just got up. I was staying at my family home. I went back to the family home and I was in my old bedroom and I just like got up and walked to the lounge room. I don't know why, and I just sat there and all the lights in the room started like dimming and coming up and dimming and coming up and we had, down lights, those I don't know, is that what you call them? Like little
Pot
lights in the
lights?
ceiling that
Yeah,
just
I
were
think they're
all
called
on
pot
one
lights.
switch. And then was like a hanging light, which was on a separate switch. And all of them together were like dimming and coming up. And I called for my brother and I got him to come in. And I just had this overwhelming sense of peace and calm. It's like I just knew it was my mum. And it was like she was telling me it's going to be okay and you're going to be okay. Tomorrow's going to be okay. And it was almost like we could speak to her and sort of get responses from the lights. It was wild. And my dad was out printing, the things you hand out to people at the funeral. And I went back to bed and he came in to check on me. And I just was like, Dad, mum was here. And like, it's all going to be okay tomorrow. And he was just kind of like, oh, that's nice. But I just, after that, like I felt totally at peace and calm and fine
Wow.
about the next day. But then later that year, I had another instance where another night, the night times were always the worst. For anyone that's lost someone, it's always the nighttime when you're alone and everything's stopped and, you can't distract yourself in the same way. So again, I'm crying and crying and crying. My boyfriend at the time was asleep, and we lived in an apartment that was like second floor. And we had our bedroom had this kind of false balcony outside. Like it was not something you could step out onto, but it looked pretty. Anyway, that was in our bedroom, and it had a lock with a key and also a bolt that went across the top, locking the doors. And I just remember just crying and crying, and I must have fallen asleep. And I felt like I was half awake, and I had this warm sensation like my mum was there and she was stroking my forehead like when I was a little child. And I
Wow.
was so conscious of it, like I just didn't want to open my eyes because I didn't want it to go away. And I felt this warm breeze come over me, and I opened my eyes, and those balcony doors were wide open. So for that to have happened, a person would have had to come in and turn the key to unlock it and pull the bolt across. It's not like anything could have blown it open. So like how do you explain that in any other way than, there was just no way to explain it. So
And
of
until
course
your mom
I
had
crossed.
passed, had you had these experiences before? Had you been a spiritual person before?
No, not that I'd really tapped into in any way. I am definitely totally open to it all now. I go and see psychics and I'm like I fully am into it, but I've never really seen a ghost but my one of my children used to sit up in his cot when he was like 2 years old, and he'd be pointing. I'd watch him on the monitor and he'd be pointing and saying, sad lady. And I'm just like, what? And it actually got to the point where I called this psychic that I knew and asked her to tune in. I'm like, I'm really freaked out. Like, there's this weird thing going on. He's sitting up, he's talking to a sad lady. Is it my mum? What is it? And she's like, no, it's not your mum. She said, there are actually two people in the house that used to live there years and years and years
Oh my
ago.
God.
And they're really curious about him and they love having a child's energy in the home. And anyway, with her help, I used some sage and she did something, energy clearing or something, and we moved them on. And I never felt creeped out or weird again in the house, which I
That is
had been feeling.
fascinating.
I know. So those are kind of my experiences, but nothing really directly where I've seen something or something's moved, obviously.
What about like
Yeah.
sounds and stuff? I mean, like I have always lived in condos, and so it's very normal to hear what sounds like marbles dropping. It's never marbles, but
Yeah.
those kinds of sounds are just very normal. And because I've lived in
Yeah.
condos for such a long time, I don't get freaked out by noises. And if any of it were something weird like that, I may not even know.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never had really an experience. My sister has so many. Literally, the other day, she was driving somewhere and she clutches her stomach. She was like, ow, ow. She got all this pain from her stomach and thought of our cousin Taryn. We don't really talk to Taryn. I haven't seen her in years. Okay. She grabs her stomach in pain and thinks of Taryn. Taryn went into labor that day.
What?
So random. And we're just not close with
Wow.
that cousin, right? So it's just the most random thing. The clinic that she works at, because she's a chiropractor, there have been sounds and noises and even some sightings, things moving. I truly believe in the paranormal and the whole concept of like maybe some of these people are in purgatory and they're trying to figure out ways to move on. But what's weird about me is I believe in this all, but when I go to psychics or any type of person like that, for some reason I'm told that I'm hard to read and I can feel them trying to
Ah,
struggle and maybe we'll read your tarot cards, maybe we'll do this. They're trying to come up with other methods for me because they
wow.
can't push through me. And I wonder if I'm doing
Mm,
that without being cognizant of it because I don't want to be
yeah.
blocked. I want to be open. I want to know it.
Yeah.
But I've just never had those same experiences like other people have, despite being spiritual and believing in it.
Interesting. Apparently, a friend of mine who I've had on the show, David the Medium, he's a huge celebrity psychic here in
Hmm.
Australia and around the world. He's touring in the UK at the moment. But he said that everybody can do it. Everybody is able to tune in. It's just a matter of kind of learning how to do it. So maybe you
Hmm.
need to just
Maybe.
take like a little course or do some meditations. There'll be so many free ones available on YouTube and
You're
just see if
probably
you can
right.
open that up. Yeah. I mean, if you want to
Well, the
tap in.
ladies on Rhode Island definitely saw and heard something. I think they heard
Yeah.
giggling. That is creepy, though. At 3 a.m. to
So
hear
creepy.
giggling is a
Yeah.
little scary. And then they're in
Yeah.
that Uber or a taxi or something. And the
Yes.
guy says, like, oh, I used to live at the Newport Mansions. And, I used to hear things too. And there was this nurse, he said that had died, I guess, on the property or something like that.
Hmm.
And it always starts that way, right? So I don't know.
Yes.
I love that the ladies were sort of believing it and giving into it and stuff and not treating it like it's stupid because
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really interesting that they were hearing something, that this man heard something. But the most fascinating thing of all is that Alicia cannot say ghosts, plural.
Ghost. Ghost.
Ghosts. There's such a
She's so
Teresa element to
funny.
her. Like, I absolutely
Yes,
love it.
isn't there? Yes, it's so true. She did so many of them in this episode. There were a number of things where she said the wrong word, or, she tries to go for saying, she goes, I'm sweating like a pig in church. Like,
I
yeah,
love
like,
James Fonda.
yes, yes. She's hilarious,
But she's
cracks
one
me
of the,
up.
what makes her hilarious is that she doesn't know that she's hilarious, right? It's
Yeah,
it's sort of
yeah,
like one of those things that made us really enjoy Salt Lake City, especially in its first few seasons, was them not being in on the joke, I guess. So as long as Alicia's not in on the joke, like I am so happy
yeah,
to have her here. She really is
totally.
like that comic relief of the show in a way.
Yes,
Well, they
completely,
all are. I feel
completely.
like they all have their elements of comic relief. But yeah, the silly things that she says or the misspeaking, it's just
Yeah.
it's so funny.
So funny. But you could see Liz get a little bit frustrated with her in that one scene. Liz seemed a little bit on edge all over in this episode. Like I
Mhm.
feel like I'd never considered the age of the women to be an issue before. There's always a mix of ages. And to be honest, I can't tell how old any of them are. Like, are they,
No, but it's funny that it doesn't come up, right? So I thought it was interesting
yeah,
that she did bring it up because, in all fairness, you've got Ashley, who is, well, I think some of the girls are early 30s, if I'm not mistaken. And then
okay.
you've got Liz, who's early 50s. I mean, that's 2 centuries, right? That's a
Yeah.
huge difference, even later in life. But that being said, I still think that's why Liz was probably not having a great time. Like when they were doing like the big giant slide, that
Yeah.
is a weird activity to choose for
So
this group of
weird.
ladies. These are a group of housewives. I wonder who chose this activity. Like, is this a
Yeah.
producer chosen activity? So I understand why she wouldn't want to do it. But the age thing, I mean, it doesn't always come into play. And I actually think that if Liz and Ashley spent some time together, they could actually be really good friends. There's something like kind of Tinsley Mortimer, Carol Radziwill thing about it
Mm,
where I could see them having a relationship. Even
yeah.
if it's more of like a maternal daughter type of friendship, I still feel like they
Yeah.
could have a really silly, fun friendship.
Yeah. I could see that too. I feel like Ashley has got a lot of growing to do,
Hmm.
her bursting into tears. I don't know, maybe she's really a highly sensitive person in the true sense of the word because, the way that she just bursts into tears at every moment, I find a little bit unusual. So,
You were
crying at the
warned. You
table.
were warned.
I was warned, but I didn't think it would be this explicit, Like it's a lot. I
Yeah.
understand crying when you're worried back because your child's going, to
When
the
that happened,
emergency
of
room.
course.
Completely appropriate, Of course, panicking. To be honest, I don't know if I would be crying. I think I would be like stressing and be like, okay, guys, I've got to go. I've got to go. I'm really worried, you know,
You know what?
but
I may
fine.
beg to differ with you on that only because, I mean, you're in a different place, your husband's in a different state, you're nowhere near your
True.
kid. You now need to get on this dinghy of a boat to be able to get back to shore. I mean, I might cry.
Yeah.
I've cried for less.
True.
I've definitely cried
True.
for less.
True, same. I really have. But yeah, sitting at the table and then Rosie, in defense of Rosie, she starts crying. And it was just like, I could just imagine at times that would become really annoying to be around. And I wonder, is she like this in her real life with Jared? Is she just springing into tears at every inconvenience or is she an empath? And anytime somebody feels like if that's the case, you'd be crying all day long because your kids are hurt and upset and you know?
Do you think she cries more often than not? And it was my impression watching her sort of grow up in Bachelor Nation was that was why Jared didn't want to be with her for so long. That was my understanding, right? Because it
Okay.
was very annoying. And even when they did get together, they released this stupid video called The Story of Us. It's 45 minutes on YouTube
Oh.
if you want to check it out. But he says, when I first met you or when I first came to know of you, I didn't know if I wanted to be with someone so emotional. So
Mm,
after many years and coming to love her and love all the other things about her, I'm sure he's learned to get used to it and ignore it. But yeah, it
yeah.
was sort of my impression that that was the deciding factor.
Okay. I mean, does she need to get some therapy or like what is going on there? Like, why is she so sensitive that everything makes her cry? It's very unusual.
At least it's her tagline, right? At least she leans in.
True. 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 Exactly. And
Okay,
look, I have to say,
Kelsey, or sorry, what were we gonna say?
yeah. Oh no, I was going to say when she was defending Rosie, I actually was thinking of you watching it because I was like, wow, this is the first season, a first episode where I'm not actually really irritated by Rosie. And I'm like,
Okay.
what is it? And I think it's because she was a bit sick, she was unwell, and so she was more low key. And she just seemed like a little bit more authentic,
You
honestly,
think
instead
she's
of
that
like
high key and that inauthentic?
I just feel like she's, something triggers these try hard personalities. It's like I really react to Sheena. I really react to who else was like her that we've talked about before that I find irritating. Those people that it's like the pick me
Yeah.
vibes, you know.
I don't see it as hard as you do.
Yeah.
I think And I think I appreciate her honesty about it, where she's like, listen, I'm sort of an anxious person. I'm a shy person. I'm just trying to do a thing and seeing what sticks. Um, I kind of appreciated about her personality how she was able to stay so even keel when Kelsey was coming at her about things that were
Mm,
really nothing. And I think Ashley was right to say, like, you're calling her a liar, but she clarified, right? We're just clarifying points of like, how
yeah.
big is your house going to be? This big. Okay, right. Do you need the plans? Right. Like, even if she
Yeah.
was to be given the plans, is that good enough to say that she's not a liar? Like, I don't really get what the whole Kelsey thing is when it comes to Rosie. I think there might be something more. That being said, right before we hit record, I noticed that Carlos King had Kelsey on his podcast and they talked about that exact thing, but I didn't get a chance to see it before we hit record. But
Ah,
there's got to be a history there. And I think
yeah.
you'd agree because it really seems like she's holding a lot of anger. And I can't imagine it's just about the Instagram thing and not posting of the
Mm,
hair. Like it feels
yeah.
deeper.
Yeah, yeah, and I think she's still not. Like from what I remember of one of the clips from Watch What Happens Live, I think Kelsey still wasn't that. I don't remember her being that nice about Rosie. So obviously things will play out over the
Yeah.
season. But for me, I actually, didn't mind Rosie this week. So who
Let's see.
knows? Maybe let's see where this goes. Yeah.
You know who we're not getting to know? Rula because she has been like
Mhm.
out for the count for 3 episodes, the first episode and then the last two. She's apparently sick, and that's not why she's on this trip, or that's why she's not on this trip. She has maybe an unidentifiable illness.
Mhm.
What do you think she's doing here? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I think it's the unidentifiable illness, potentially stress, like she's living with a situation where I think deep down she knows her husband is being unfaithful and she
Deep down?
knows the
She has
women.
to look deep
Well,
down?
well, yeah, true. Exactly.
Very
Very much at the
surface.
surface. But like I think that's got to be it, right? And maybe she genuinely did feel like she was coming down with something because she knew she was going to spend 3 days in this
Oh, you're right.
castle with these girls who were going to bring it up. And no doubt Joellen would have more evidence. And I think she knew
But she
it was
asked for the
going to be,
evidence, you know?
yeah,
Like, I'm not really
yeah.
getting her. This, her relationship and her on the show, I just don't understand. I've said this to you a few times where I'm just like, is this a
Mm,
joke? Like, it just seems so
yeah.
obvious that he's blatantly and openly cheating on her. She's obviously aware of it. She asked for evidence. She asked to know, but then she's not really filming. She doesn't really seem to have any reaction when she is being confronted with information. I, I, out of all of these ladies, I cannot read this lady.
No. And that's why, I find it hard to believe a lot of the things that she's saying. Like it's
Yeah,
almost like reading her expressions. We don't know her well enough to know if something's truthful or not, but like even as she
right.
was talking about her, illness, it sort of reads a little bit false in the same way that like, his mother was unwell and they just had to go suddenly to her bedside. It she's backing him up and playing happy families for the camera, with him bringing up the tea to her in bed and being the doting husband. And it just feels all so false. And I just wonder, like, when do the cards tumble? Because, in current time, they're still together. So I
Which
don't
is
know what's going
bizarre.
on.
And we did get at the end of the episode, Joe Ellen getting some information from the mistress. I have to say it that way now, mistress. Um,
Yeah.
basically, she gets this video where he's caressing the woman's ass and hugging her for a really long time. I know that Liz said you can't dispute video, but the fact that Rula was disputing photos and calling them AI, I could see her calling this AI, right?
Yes.
Like she is just
Totally.
so dedicated to not believing this. And I love how all
Yeah.
the ladies were like, not it, in terms of like being the one to tell her. And I don't think it's because
Yes.
they think she's going to get upset. I think they feel like they're going to have to fight with her on it to get her to believe them, even though it's
Yeah.
like glaringly obvious. What a weird
Yeah.
friendship to be in with someone, you know? Like you want to be honest with your
Yeah.
friend, but you feel like you can't be. You feel like the more honest you are with your friend, the less likely she's going to believe you or sort
Yeah.
of take your word. I don't know. That's really complex.
I know. It really is. And I actually didn't like the way the women or the way that Joellen kind of brought that into the group, kind of saying, well, I can't bring this to her, so who's going to? Alicia? It's got to be you. That
Yeah.
didn't like that. That was
Yeah.
not like if you're going to be ballsy enough to seek out evidence, like you've obviously asked your friend to go and film them or whatever it was, then you're going to have to be the one to deliver it. It's not fair to put it on somebody else.
The one who smelt it dealt it.
Yes.
Spot on. Okay, we have to
Yes.
talk about Joellen because she has become my favorite just after watching this past
Mm,
episode and learning so much more about her childhood, which we talked about last week. We talked about her
yeah.
mother sending her to these behavioral programs. We didn't know until this episode that she was sent 3 times. One of those
Yeah.
times was for over a year. And for nothing. Like she's being sent to these places where they have like drug addicts and
Hmm.
rapists and things like that. And she hasn't done anything except have big boobs and guys like her. That's my understanding
Yeah.
because she wasn't even saying she was being necessarily promiscuous or anything like that. Even still, I don't really understand. And then she explained that her mom had to give up some custody of her to the state in order for
Yes.
them to, I don't know, take over Joellen. But then I
Hmm.
guess once they were considering taking over full custody, her mom decided, oh, well, I don't want to lose custody, so she's all better. And I
Yeah.
was just mouth agape.
Yeah.
I This was so much worse than I thought, right? When we saw that initial scene of Joellen talking to her sister and how, our mom shows love in different ways. No, 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 no. This is way worse than that. She sent you away instead of raising you. And I wonder if the
Mm-hmm.
sister was as well, because they said Jen went first, but I wasn't sure if that meant
Yes.
went to one of these places. But if she did, then I'm sorry, I no longer understand how they have a differing opinion on their mom. Before, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, people have different relationships with their parents. My sister does too. But if my mom had sent my sister and I to behavioral programs, or actually even
Mm-hmm.
just me, I don't think my sister
Yeah.
would have a relationship with my mom.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's
how?
it's
How?
it's wild. It's wild. And yeah, to think of the trauma that I'm sure this is the tip of the iceberg. You can't tell me that bad things didn't happen to her. It's not just a matter of being surrounded by bad people. There are long histories of abuse and all kinds of things that go on in these places from the people running the show, as we know from Paris
The power
Hilton.
trip.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and so, that really just broke my heart, just thinking like what this young person went through just for probably being a normal teenager. She probably had a boyfriend, or maybe she was like kissing boys at parties, or, whatever, like not a big deal. Or 14, 15, that's not anything you send a child away for. And for that long, I
And
mean,
to
it's
give up some of
horrifying.
your custody, like,
Yeah.
I just
What a
couldn't believe
terrible
it. And,
risk.
it's interesting to hear her talk about that and then to hear Alicia talk about her father leaving. And it's this concept
Mm,
of when you have your own child, maybe this is something you can relate to when you're like, now that I have this child, I cannot fathom how my parents, did this. Not that your parents ever did anything, but when you have
mm,
your own children, you sort of just look at them in this protective, different way where I don't know, it makes you question, like, maybe even
yeah.
the way that you were raised or the things that you saw growing up from other people's parents, right? All you want to do is
Hmm.
protect that kid.
Yeah. I know. And the way that the language she keeps using about, nobody loved me. Like I was a child that didn't feel love from the one person that was supposed to give you that unconditional love. You just think about all of the flow-on effect that this will have had for her in all of her relationships. And I actually think she's reflecting really nicely on
Hmm.
how this has affected her personality and how she presents to the world and what she's like in relationships. And I'm really now looking forward to that conversation with her mother where she unpacks some of this because, like, we need some serious answers here. And maybe there is a whole other side to the story. When we're
That's true.
adolescents, we're so egocentric and it's just we can't see outside of our own world. And maybe she was
Maybe.
15 and didn't think anything was actually bad, but I don't know.
I
Maybe
mean, she's pretty specific. She's like, I wasn't doing drugs, I wasn't drinking, and I wasn't
yeah,
actually being
true.
promiscuous, right? She's using those words. And she's like,
True.
these are what these places were for. And I wasn't doing those things. And that's why they sent me home.
Yes, true.
You
To a
know, I
rehab. They sent her to a drug rehab the first time around. I mean, this is, the other question I wonder is, and no shade to people who are religious who might be listening, but is there an element there? Was her mother, very much a religious person? And, or, one of those
that's
things,
all I
like,
can
what
think
is her
of.
mother's blueprint here that's making whatever Joellen was doing? And, she strikes me as a kind of a bit of a wild personality. Like I can imagine her being maybe a challenging teenager with a bit of attitude and what she wants to wear and what she wants to do, and
She
but
had straight
normal
A's and she
teenage
wasn't doing
stuff.
drugs, you know?
Yeah, like it's not I just there has to be more to this story. Why else do you, unless the mother has a serious personality disorder and is being harmful intentionally to her child because she can't cope with her role as a parent. I don't know.
Can
We
you
need more.
remind me, was Joe Ellen's father in the picture?
I was wondering that too because He wasn't mentioned, but
The
I was trying to,
grandfather just died, but not
yeah.
the father. I
Oh, that's right. I think did something happen to her father, so that's why the grandfather was so important.
Right, maybe. This did come up, and I didn't like
Yeah, same,
it didn't stick
same.
in my brain, unfortunately, so I don't have that
No, neither.
factoid. But,
Yeah,
it makes me question, what that was like growing up and if the father had been around and was he
yeah.
co-signing this, right? So I'm just curious about that. I don't know.
Mm,
I mean, there's just something so relatable about her in the way that she communicates about this, even though this isn't something that's super relatable to everybody. I think the way
yeah,
that she is just looking for relatability when it comes to having a difficult childhood is just really interesting. And I am so on point with you here in terms of her being really articulate in how she's explaining how she feels about it all. And so to me, she looks like someone who's been to therapy. And Alicia,
yeah,
too, quite honestly, right? All the ways that she talks about why she won't marry Brian, they really all seem like they came from
yeah.
a therapeutic place.
Yeah, yeah. And it sounded like Joellen was advocating for that in the conversation with Alicia. Like, maybe it'd be good for you to go and talk to somebody and like process some of this. And, that unless you've been to therapy, are you advocating for it with other people? So I think, yeah, Joellen sounds like she's done some work. And it sounds like Alicia would be open to going again, or maybe for the first time. But, there's obviously so much there. And I like that there wasn't any one-upping. Often when people are kind of like
Mhm.
sharing traumatic stories, it can feel a little bit like,
It's
who's
true.
got the worst wound, but it actually felt like a very supportive conversation. And even in their talking heads later, there didn't seem to be any like, well, this was all about me. And now she's talking about like her dad. It's a very different situation. Like, no, she was very sympathetic to Alicia's story. And I liked that that brought them together.
And even though it wasn't the same or exactly the same, Joellen was still able to say, like, there's some relatability here. There's someone here who sort of understands. And so interesting that there's such a connection between all these women where Alicia actually went to high school with them and sort of
Yeah.
remembers Joellen and Jen leaving school. Or you have Kelsey's boyfriend having sex with Joellen and another woman on
Yes,
land, not on water. And I'm like, how small is Rhode Island, right?
totally. Totally. But it sounds like it is small because Joellen's like, I'm always trying to find like a single guy for my
Oh,
sister,
right.
and it's like someone that's not necessarily already been through the group. So
I
the
mean,
boat
that is
captain it
very typical
is.
of Bravo, isn't it? Right. So if it's not going to
Yes,
happen, if it hasn't happened yet, it'll happen soon.
exactly. Just bring her to BravoCon next year. She'll end up
Exactly.
with Wes Wilson by the end of the night.
Exactly. Exactly.
Ah,
West has got to make his rounds of all of the housewives,
that's
or else
right.
is he really
Yeah.
messy Wessy?
Messy Wessy. Oh God, I
All right. Well, I
can't.
think we have covered everything in the episode. Is there
Ah.
anything else that you wanted to mention or bring up?
Um, no, I was just, I think it was the Liz part for me that I was a little bit, I felt a bit sad for her. And I don't know if it was that they were isolated in the castle and half the girls were, or that Alicia and Joellen were kind of off somewhere else. And so she was missing her kind of core people.
Yeah.
But I felt a little bit of that for her. And I was kind of like, oh God, and now they're stuck here for another night. Like this is okay. So I'm looking forward to them actually getting out of the castle and going back to their
Mhm.
real lives and kind of continuing to peel back those layers a little bit more because there's so much with each of these ladies that I just can't get enough. I want to know everything and I want to know it now. So can't wait for next week.
Well, you have to wait, okay? You have to wait.
Okay, unless
We
Bravo
want
wants
it
to send
now.
me
Well,
the
you can't have it now. We
screeners.
can't have everything that we want. But just to remind you guys, we
Yes.
are recapping this show every Tuesday for you guys. We're doing this together as a collab. You can listen to it on either the Bravo Investigator podcast or Pop Therapy. You can also watch on either of our YouTube channels. And if you wanted to follow me, if you want, you can do so at the Bravo Investigator, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads. And what about you, Yana?
You can find me on YouTube at Pop Therapy Podcast. You can find me on Instagram at yana.firestone. That's Jana. Sorry to confuse everybody. And same on TikTok, although as we've said before, not my strong suit. So Instagram is really where it's at for me. Or hit me up on the website at yanafirestone.com.
We'll see you guys next week.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to Pop Therapy with Yana Firestone.
And the Bravo Investigator podcast with Dana Regan.
Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at the Bravo Investigator, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.
And you can find me at Yana Firestone. That's JANA Firestone on Instagram, and the Pop Therapy podcast on YouTube, TikTok, all the things.
You can see us collaborating every single week.
Come and listen, join the party, and don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review if you've enjoyed this episode. And join the conversation online. We would love to hear your thoughts.